immigration. In California, it also gives them the right to work.
DACA is for everyone who was brought here by their parents through no choice of their own, regardless of where they came from, regardless of when they came. If they meet the qualifications, if they came here and they attended school, we want them to apply.
We know that in some states it's even more limited than in others, but here in California, people can get a work permit, a social security number, a driver's license, and that makes a whole lot of difference for people who are used to, for the last 20, 30 years, not having any benefit from immigration.
LA City Hall is filled with young people who have received new opportunities by applying to the DACA program. Young people who work in Mayor Eric Garcetti's office or for Council Member Gil Cedillo.
I have been in this country for 20 years. I came when I was 7 years old, and I worked incredibly hard. I am a graduate of UCLA, and so incredibly proud now to say that I am a field deputy for the office of Councilman Gil Cedillo.
Immigration advocates say more than 500,000 young people have applied for the program, but many more are eligible. And they hope the U.S. works on comprehensive immigration reform and a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants.
We want to make sure that Congress doesn't focus on the politics, but that Congress focus on what the American people want, that Congress focus on what is good for this country. And all of the studies have shown that comprehensive immigration reform is what is good for this country.
But for now, the DACA program gives many hope. And with agencies and nonprofit groups ready to help for free, immigration advocates urge undocumented young people to step up and apply for a shot at the American dream. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
President Barack Obama signed the DACA program into law on August 15, 2012. Plans are underway for an energy upgrade at a landmark power plant near El Segundo. As Gil Reyes reports, it's part of the LADWP's long-term goal to replace most of its existing power supply.
A suite renovation for the factory housing these candy cane striped towers in Playa del Rey.
We'll have all those things, environmental benefits, we'll have energy efficiency, fuel efficiency, and reliable power.
The LA Department of Water and Power is upgrading its Scattergood generating station. The power plant, built over half a century ago, is set to have its aging steam boiler replaced with smaller, more efficient units. That's expected to reduce the amount of air pollutants and greenhouse gases released in the air.
It's one of many similar efforts we're going to do over the next 12 to 15 years as we repower every single one of our coastal gas-fired power plants to get off of ocean cooling and also make them more efficient.
LADWP General Manager Ron Nichols calls it a major step towards phasing out ocean cooling. That's when a coastal power plant sucks in seawater to cool its turbines. The problem is heated water is dumped back into the ocean, killing marine life. The LADWP wants to replace ocean cooling with natural gas combustion turbines. Timetable for that, 2025. In Playa del Rey, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
By 2025, the LA Department of Water and Power plans on reducing its carbon footprint by over 70%. LA City residents and the LAPD have something to cheer about as the summer crime statistics come in. Anna Marcos has the numbers.
The LAPD's top cop rode in on a custom motorcycle to deliver the good news. In a decade full of dropping crime rates, LA is seeing its lowest violent crime figures yet.
Every category of violent crime is down. Homicide is down 10%. Rapes are down 28.5%. Robberies are down 11.2%. Aggravated assaults are down 9.6%. Gang crime is also down. Gang crime is down a total of 18%. In the city.
We're coming out of one of the worst economic crises in history. We all know that. But even in the worst of time, when things were supposed to go crazy, we've kept crime going down.
Police say not only is the LAPD more proactive, but there's a new climate of cooperation between officers and residents, and that's made a big difference.
Solving crimes is twofold. Detectives, police work, and you know what? Somebody just say, hey, I know where this guy is, even anonymously. And that's happening more often. That's a fact.
Beck also talked about recent police-involved incidents, and he talked about a court ruling that has found the LAPD's impound policies do not follow state law. The LAPD plans to ask the city to appeal the ruling. But most of all, the chief talked crime, and he admitted many LA neighborhoods still have an uphill struggle.
The number one cause of death among young men of color in many of our neighborhoods is homicide, and it's almost always in the hands of another who looks and comes from the same neighborhood as they do. This is LA's burden.
But the burden is growing a bit lighter, and police hope the trend continues. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
It's been around for several decades, but many Angelenos have never before set foot at this airport. Cindy San Luis takes us to Van Nuys Airport and tells us about its rich history in our city.
The Van Nuys Airport recently celebrated its 85th anniversary with the reopening of the airport's main runway, 16 Right.
We really impacted our aviation tenants here when we reconstructed the main runway, 16 Right. And so we really appreciate all that they did to partner with us, to help us make it happen in the shortest amount of time.
Construction had been underway since February 2012 to update the runway, which hadn't had any major maintenance to it for 55 years, adding high-speed exit light modifications, new in-pavement approach lighting, and new pavement markings.
We just rehabbed it so that it'll be good for another 20 years.
So we have 2 runways. What began as a little metropolitan airport serving private pilots in 1928 has grown to serve a major role in the San Fernando Valley community.
We have over 12,000 jobs associated with the airport. So people in the area many people in the area work at the airport. We bring in $1.3 billion to the local economy. Smile big!
As part of the airport's thank you to the community, 1,300 Van Nuys Airport fans were treated to free airfield tours, free prizes, plane spotting, and vintage aircraft displays.
They look cool because they're big and they have colors, and then they're like planes, and then you got to see them lift off.
More than 100 businesses are located on the 730-acre airport, and it's one of the busiest general aviation airports in the world. But because it's not a commercial passenger facility, many locals hadn't visited the airport till now.
I've never seen Air Museum. I love seeing planes.
This community airport, this general aviation airport, is one of the busiest in the world, and it's extremely important for the San Fernando Valley.
And with the updating of runway 16 Right, hope is the airport will continue to serve the neighborhood for years to come. I'm Cindy San Luis for LA This Week.
The Van Nuys Airport Observation Area is open to the public daily from sunrise to sunset, and airfield tours are held each week with a minimum of 20 people required. Some of the city's most iconic landmarks aren't the buildings themselves, but the art painted on them. Anna Marcos tells us about the city's efforts to help preserve the city's mural art.
Are they art or eyesore? For 10 years, murals on private property were banned in the City of Angels. But LA's wall art is about to make a comeback after city leaders voted to bring it back.
The city of Los Angeles was once known as the mural capital of the world, whether it was in Venice or the east side of Los Angeles, some places in downtown. As early as the 1930s, when we had Siqueiros paint one of his first murals here at Placita Alvera, the city of Los Angeles was known as a place where it supported the arts, where we had free expression on our walls.
Murals were banned in 2002 after sign companies sued the city for allowing the murals but not allowing their advertising. The city has now gotten around that by putting murals in a whole new category. They are no longer part of the sign code. They are now works of art.
I want murals all around us. Thank you.
My name is Virginia Bell. I'm an artist. I am a muralist.
I quit my job 7 years ago to nurture the gift that God has given me, and I am ready to paint.
However, there will be restrictions on size and location, and for now, murals will not be allowed on single-family homes.
I certainly believe that the owner of a single-family property should have the right to put a mural on if he or she wants to.
Council members are working on a new ordinance that would allow murals on single-family homes in neighborhoods like Districts 1 and 14, where mural art is part of the culture.
It was our First Amendment expression. It gave us a sense of identity, meaning, and place. That's the significance of this motion today.
But some expressed concerns with issues like vandalism and the city's inability to regulate content due to First Amendment rights.
A significant number of complaints just on billboards and the messaging.
We never wanted murals to be neglected or removed because we're all for it. The problem is, how does legislation write the law to protect from vandalism?
I did not hear even one single call or letter in support from anyone residing in my district. So I'm going to support my district in not wanting to see murals.
Still, the vote has gone through. Mayor Eric Garcetti will now have to sign the bill, and artists will have to apply to register their murals. It may be several months before we see the first new murals go up. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Meanwhile, the amendment to allow murals on single-family homes in some neighborhoods is making its way through committee. A City Hall drive netted a surprising number of one donation item for the homeless. It's something homeless advocates say is sorely needed but rarely given.
Wow.
Not 100, not 1,000, but more than 15,000 pairs of socks donated to the Midnight Mission downtown. The 2-week-long sock drive was launched by Councilman Joe Buscaino in response to a gag gift of crazy socks given by Council President Herb Wesson to the council members on the first day of the new council session.
We launched the LA City Council Socks Drive as a way to pay forward our sock gift given to us by Council President Herb Wesson. Today, as you see before you, thousands of socks have flooded our individual offices as a response to our call for donations.
From a gag to a gaggle of socks, the Midnight Mission will distribute the generous donations to organizations citywide, and it would not have been possible without community involvement.
The students of Dana Middle School, Miss Crow's leadership class in San Pedro for donating 500 pairs, students at Harry Bridges Elementary School, Gulf Avenue Elementary School in Wilmington for donating 500 pairs, San Pedro High School, Miss Carcamo's leadership class. Collectively, CD15 brought in approximately 5,000 pairs of socks.
When it comes to donations for the homeless, food and clothes usually come to mind first, but rarely socks. The head of the Midnight Mission explained just how essential a pair of socks is to those living on the streets. He spoke via a video message shown in council chambers.
We thank you for recognizing the need of those that are suffering from homelessness here in our community by providing these socks. You know, we might not think socks are a big issue in our lives, but for a homeless person, a new pair of fresh socks is the difference between a good day and a bad.
I remember being homeless, and I remember what it was like to not have clean socks and not have clean clothes.
And it looks like it's 15,000 pairs and counting, as Councilman Tom LaBonge made a last-minute donation, and Councilman Mike Bonin pledges even more socks.
We have a large and growing population of homeless children, so I'm going to go out later today and buy some children's socks and add this to the donations.
Yes,
Thank
fantastic,
you.
Mike.
Generosity guaranteed to warm not only hearts, but many a toes on a cold night. And at last count, the donation was closer to 20,000 pairs, with donations still flooding in. Mr. Sid Maksudian, representing downtown business owners, donated 7,000 pairs of socks. Councilman Buscaino's office brought in around 5,000 pairs, and Councilman Mitchell Englander's office 4,000 pairs. A $50,000 reward for an unsolved hit and run, and also for an unsolved murder. Also, the mayor holds office hours at City Hall and in Van Nuys. These stories and more in City Beat. The City Council has approved a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for the August 3rd shooting of 17-year-old Hamilton High School football captain Bijan Shushtari. He was the front passenger in a vehicle that was driving north on Crenshaw Boulevard, approaching Vernon Avenue. That's when the suspect's vehicle approached.
At least one suspect from that vehicle began shooting into the victim's vehicle that he was riding, and it struck him multiple times. He was transported to Cedars-Sinai Hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries on August the 5th.
If you have any information on this crime, call the LAPD's Criminal Gang Homicide Division at 213-485-4341. Council members have also approved a $50,000 reward in the case of an unsolved hit-and-run incident that caused the death of 35-year-old Michael Bonanomi. Police say Bonanomi was crossing Ventura Boulevard in Studio City near Fairway Avenue on Saturday, August 17th, around 11:45 p.m., when he was struck by a vehicle and killed.
He was born and raised here in Los Angeles and was a respected advertising professional, an accomplished musician, and a very special friend to so many. We can't even count the number of friends that were at his memorial. We think maybe 300 people came to our little house, and it was just such a testament to him. He loved the Dodgers, he loved the Lakers, the farmers market, sunsets on the beach, and a barbecue with friends.
Police are looking for a white two-door 2008 to 2010 Mercedes-Benz that at the time had black paper license plates with yellow lettering. If you live closer to Van Nuys and would like to meet with a member of Mayor Eric Garcetti's office, you'll be able to do that without driving to City Hall downtown. Garcetti announced that a member of his constituent services team will be stationed at Van Nuys City Hall Tuesday through Friday during regular business hours to offer in-person assistance. You can sign up for appointments to speak with the mayor or a member of his staff by visiting the mayor's help desk at City Hall or by going through lamayor.org. You can also call the mayor's office or make an appointment on the mayor's Facebook page. SB 566, a proposed law to legalize the sale and growth of hemp in California, is getting a downvote from LA City Councilmember Bernard Parks and much of the City Council. Hemp comes from the same species as marijuana and looks similar to it in the wild, but is not as potent.
What the concern would be is that those that use the hemp market as a cover for selling and growing marijuana, if upon being arrested and recovery, it would require the law enforcement agency to do analysis on the hemp to determine the level of THC, and no lab in the state is equipped to do that.
The hemp law was approved by the legislature last year, but vetoed by the governor. Some of LA's buffest bodies compete for the title of Muscle Beach Champion, and an incredible honor for a bodybuilding icon. Gil Reyes reports from the Muscle Beach Championships in Venice.
Brawn and beauty mixing it up at what many consider to be the mecca of muscle and fitness. We're at the famed Venice Beach Gym, also known as The Pit, where some of LA's buffest bodies compete at this annual Labor Day Physique Contest. It's also where TV's Incredible Hulk receives an award.
I trained here years ago with the other bodybuilders like Arnold and then other people because I was doing anything at the time. As a matter of fact, I slept on the beach a couple of times. I had money to get an apartment. So I remember I just wanted to be here. If you fast forward 40 years later, here I am now. And this is amazing.
Two-time Mr. Universe famous actor and LA County Sheriff's Deputy Lou Ferrigno is formally inducted into the Muscle Beach Hall of Fame. Doing the honors, Marvel Comics icon Stan Lee, who co-created the Hulk character.
But he's also one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and I am so proud to call Lou Ferrigno my good friend.
Stan Lee also co-created Spider-Man, Iron Man, the Avengers, the X-Men, and a number of other muscle-bound Marvel heroes. For that, he receives his own award from the city of Los Angeles.
Stan Lee is and always will be a cultural icon. Nuff said, Excelsior.
Incredible physique or not, all are invited to train like an Iron Man or Iron Woman at the Venice Beach Gym, which is just steps away from the sand. A one-day pass costs $10. A year's membership is $150. A bargain compared to some of the other big chain fitness centers. At the Venice Beach Gym, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The Muscle Beach Gym is operated by the LA Department of Recreation and Parks. And in this week's list of things to do, an 80s movie to help end the summer, celebrating Mexican independence, and fashion from some of television's biggest shows on exhibit. Labor Day may be behind us, but summer is still not officially over yet. The LA State Historic Park at 1245 North Spring Street downtown is hosting an end-of-summer movie screening of the 80s teen classic, The Breakfast Club, starring 80s teen queen Molly Ringwald and the rest of the so-called Brat Pack. Takes place on Saturday, September 14th from 5:30 to 11 p.m. There will be food trucks and live music before the screening to keep everyone happy. Go to eatseehere.com for the cost of admission and other details. On Saturday and Sunday, September 14th and 15th, celebrate Mexican independence at Olvera Street Plaza downtown, also known as El Pueblo de Los Angeles Historical Monument. The annual celebration includes live music, dancing, carnival games and rides, and exhibit booths. The fun takes place both days from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. For a detailed map or directions and other information, go to elpueblo.lacity.org. And if you haven't already done so, head on over to the ongoing 7th Annual Art of Television Costume Design Exhibition at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, or FIDM, Museum and Galleries downtown at 919 South Grand Avenue. Over 120 original costumes from 15 popular television series and miniseries are featured in the exhibit. That includes costumes from the HBO hit Game of Thrones to the British import Downton Abbey to the NBC comedy Parks and Recreation. Go to fidmmuseum.org for museum hours and details. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. An iconic attraction here in the city celebrates 76 years of helping children and families make lasting memories. And to mark the occasion, one council member invited parkgoers to enjoy free rides one recent afternoon. This mother and child are making lasting memories atop this 76-year-old carousel at Griffith Park. A ride on a merry-go-round is a rite of passage for many babies and toddlers. And at a ripe old age of 9, Nina Fisher is already a veteran.
I've been on this merry-go-round a couple of times before.
To help mark the carousel's 76th anniversary and to celebrate the unofficial end of summer, Councilman Tom LaBonge treated park-goers to free rides on the historic Griffith Park merry-go-round. And as this plaque reminds riders, Franklin Roosevelt was president, Walt Disney made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and gasoline was 10 cents a gallon 3/4 of a century ago.
It was put together in 1926, and from 1926 to 1936, it was done in San Diego for the Exposition World Fair. And then in 1937, it came up here, and it's been here ever since.
The carousel, a 4-row Spillman carousel, is the only one left of its kind.
We have 4 rows, all horses, all jumpers, and we go quite fast. We go about 14 miles an hour.
The memories made are also one of a kind.
I grew up with my 7 brothers here at Griffith Park. Parents would take us over here and we'd ride, which was fun. There were no gates here. You could kind of hop on. Oh, I take my dates here. I still date my wife here.
It made me dizzy and it was noisy.
Yeah.
And I went up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down.
I've seen kids grow up, go to college, and now they have their own families. And they come back and they're like, do you remember me?
Proving that a simple 76-year-old ride that goes round and round can create memories that last a lifetime. And more ride trivia. The carousel has 1,026 light bulbs, and each month about 50 burn out. Also, the horsetails on the ride are made from real horse hairs and are from the original ride. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
distinguished faculty, Mom, Dad. Today's lesson, how to exercise with your kids and save the planet. First, you must believe. B, that your children really are the future. Second, you must do. Instead of jumping in the car, let's go for a walk, or a run, or even a bike ride. No pollution, no oil, no gas. And as long as we obey all traffic safety rules, we're cool. Lastly, you have to live. Live into our big, beautiful, healthy future. Be, do, live. Watch the road.
Clean water means preserving an LA icon. Echo Park is probably best known for the lotus that bloom every year in the lake. But with water pollution and other factors, it really led to a disappearance and a decline of the lotus. But with the passage of Prop O in 2004, we received money to dredge the lake and make it a better place for the native wildlife that live here and, of course, for the lotus. Rehabilitating the lake has really helped us preserve an LA icon.
G'day, Troy McCubbin from North Hollywood. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
Members, if you're in your offices, report to the council chambers so we can begin today's work. I want to thank Joe Buscaino for joining us and Mr. Fuentes. Okay, if I could ask everyone to please have a seat. Shh. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council chambers. Today is Friday the 13th. If you are interested in seeing your government at work, this council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. The public is welcome. Mr. Labange. No, Mr. Labange, we're going to start today's presentation portion, but I want to have you go through the agenda and all of that as I go get my doggy.
Yeah. We got 10 members, Mr. Clerk?
We're ready.
All right, Mr. Clerk, let's go through the roll. Good morning to everybody. What's before us, Mr. Clerk?
We should first call the roll, sir. That would be Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Corrin, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Fuentes, followed by Mr. O'Farrell, seconds the motion for the minutes. Moving.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Bonin, followed by Mr. O'Farrell, seconds. Move it.
Mr. President, before getting into this morning's agenda, there has been a request from member to continue item 9 to September 24. Again, item 9 to September 24.
Who said item 9? Item 9. Okay, item 9. Who? Which member?
That would be Mr. O'Farrell, sir.
Good. So ordered.
Very good. Item 1 is an item notice for public hearing.
Okay.
We do have cards, sir.
We'll hold that for cards.
Very good. Items 2 through 10 are items for which public hearings have been held. For items 7 and 8, a public hearing was not satisfied in committee, and council does have cards on these items, so 7 and 8 should be held on the desk or called special, sir.
Good. 7 and 8 special. Also, I like 10. Why don't you go 7, 8, and 10? Special on 10.
Very good, sir.
What's next, Mr.
Perhaps the members might wish to call an item special in that group. That would be it.
Mr. Englander?
Standing for a while. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I know you can stand all you want, Mitch, but you got to push your button there. That's where I see it right there.
I'll get on the chair next time.
Okay.
2, 3, 4, and 5 special.
2, 3, 4, and 5 special. Members, push your button if you want to say anything. Sometimes it helps me a little bit. Thank you. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. You got anything else, Alan?
No, sir.
So we could do presentations right now?
Mr. President, we should first vote on the remaining items.
Let's vote. Let's open the roll on the remaining items. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
And Mr. President, the ordinance for number 6 will go over for a second read unless reconsidered later with...
You keep an eye if 12 members come, lay it on the desk, and then we'll final act on it in the council.
Very good, sir. Item 11 is an item for which public hearing has not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Let's open the roll without objection. Without objection.
Very good. That brings us to item 11, sir. We do have cards on that matter.
So we'll hold it.
Very good.
Cards. We have cards.
That brings council to presentations.
Presentations. Let me introduce the president of the city council for a very special presentation. You're still batting 1,000, Mr. President, on this?
Yes, I am.
So important here. It's so important. We have our animal services representative.
Yes, I am, Mr. President. We're still batting 1,000. If we could fix the screen, ITA. It's not that I want people to look at me, but I do want them to see this dog that I have.
Sergeant, see if you can move the chairs, Sergeant.
Can we see, maybe we can, if the cameras could try to find, his name is Skyler. Very intelligent doggy. He was, no, you're in the shot now. You're important, not me. Anyway, take a look at him. He's a mixed shepherd, and he's also a brindle. You see the two-tone. We had him when he was a little puppy. He was adopted, had a very, very happy home, and unfortunately his parents lost their home and had to bring Skyler back to us. So he misses them. He misses human beings. This dog is housebroken and gets along with everything, even birds, I think. He gets along with everything. He's just looking for someone to love him, looking for a home. It's my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, Skylar's about a year old, so he's still a pup in a lot of ways, but he is housebroken. Is he a good watchdog? He's a good watchdog. And if you jog, he can jog beside you. So I'm finding out all kinds of secrets about Skylar. Next thing I'll know is you'll tell me is he's got an Oxford education or something. But anyway, folks, we have a 100% adoption rate here at the City of Los Angeles. I hope we get him adopted. Usually he's adopted by people in the council chambers or individuals that are watching this in the building on television. So we're going to keep him for a while. And I tell you, if you're looking for unconditional love, it's a companion pet like Skylar. Remember, you're not just adopting Skylar, you're saving his life. We have 6 shelters, and we do the very best we can to keep our dogs and find them homes. But we can't do that with all. So save Skylar's life. Bring him to your house and have the perfect companion. So with that, Mr. President, I'm going to request that somebody adopt him. Maybe I get Chief Beck to. And if not, maybe you, Mr. President. But I think it's time for you and I to change places.
Very good.
Skylar will be in the back for several minutes.
Very good. We've got that right there. Let's give our animal services tech a very good hand. And
She's
Skylar,
great. Volunteer.
Great job. Volunteer. And the number on the screen is 888-452-7381. 888-452-7381. Call Collector Direct right away. Get Skylar.
And the individuals shouldn't be discouraged if we're fortunate enough to find Skylar a home. We've got 6 shelters, and we've got some great companion animals in each and every one of them. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also got to call on my colleague, Mr. Mitchell Farrell, as we meet at the podium right now. Thank you. Chief Beck. Detective Sergeant Edo.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Council. It gives me such great pleasure to be standing here today honoring someone who I feel such admiration for as a friend, as a professional who is the consummate public servant who has served the district so well and who now gets to be shared by the entire city of Los Angeles in her new role as commander. I first want to acknowledge the fact that our colleague Paul Koretz isn't able to be here today because his district shares in the benefit that she's brought to the city. And of course, Councilmember Tom LaBonge. Tom, why aren't you standing up here? Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna bring B up. Former Captain B. Grimala, I worked with for 5 years in the Hollywood area. She didn't just step in 5 years ago to make Hollywood better, safer, improve the quality of life there. She accelerated the reduction in crime and contributed in such a profound, huge way to improve the community for everyone. And there's just a tiny fraction of the people who love B to my left, just as a token of the sense of how much she is beloved in Hollywood. I have never worked with a public safety professional that I admire more, that I respect more, that I've learned more from than Commander B. Grimala. In fact, when I grow up, I want to be just like her someday. With that being said, I will turn it over to my colleague, Tom LaBonge.
Well, thank you very much, Mitch. And what the great thing Mitch was talking about, Mitch O'Farrell was a great deputy for now our mayor, Eric Garcetti. And being a great deputy, you work right hands-on all the time with the area commanders. And the ability that you had, Mitch, did so much good for Mr. Garcetti and the 13th District, which obviously resulted in a lot of positive things for us here. But right here is someone who grew up in Los Angeles. Immaculate Heart High School, right there at Franklin, and Western, right? You go straight up Western from San Pedro, you'll hit Immaculate Heart. They don't let Mary Star guys up there. But anyway, that's another story. B. Gramala worked hard, joined the police department over 28 years ago, had some great mentors along the way, as we know, but also brought it together in Hollywood, which is a very tough place in the sense of whatever the neighborhood population is now, it sometimes triples or quadruples in an evening when it's a hot summer night, and all the other factors, the involvement there. She has been one who has collaborated with many groups. She has a great support of her community leadership, and it's sad, but it's also positive because she, as Mitch said, will make another contribution. But I want to take one moment to actually compliment our Chief Beck, who for the first time as a history of a chief of police said, if you're doing a good job in an area and my phone's not ringing off the hook saying there's any problems in your area, we want you to lead that command. For 5.5 years, led the command of Hollywood. Has anyone beat that record at all? I don't think so, B. It's very special because that's the kind of manager Chief Beck is, Mr. Fuentes. If someone's doing good, they keep there. Because you remember your days when you were back here with Mr. Hahn, they would rotate every 3 years. Boom. No rotation in Hollywood. B was able to command it and make change for the positive. So I love you, B, and I'm happy you're now a commander, and we want to salute you. B. Gramala. Chief Beck. You want to introduce you too?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And thank you. Before I introduce Chief Beck, I would also like to acknowledge and congratulate new Captain Pete Zarcone. Pete, if you could please stand up. Welcome. You actually have tiny shoes to fill, but we know that you'll fill them well. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Charlie Beck.
If I could interrupt.
Sure.
In fact, the chief, Joey B., do you mind affording the chief the opportunity to go before you? All right, Chief, please come to the mic. Good to see you.
Good to be seen. You know, quite arguably, the hardest and most important job on the Los Angeles Police Department is the area captain. The area captain has not only responsibilities for crime, but also, like the council, has responsibility for community improvement. They also are the face of the department for upwards of 250,000 people in most of our areas. It is a difficult job, and B did it superbly. And that is evidenced not only by her longevity in that position, but by all the supporters here. And I took very seriously my decision to move from Hollywood. But I know that those of us, and I include myself here, that are big fans of hers and that love her very much, want her to promote and give her a greater piece of responsibility in the Los Angeles Police Department. Luckily, I have an able replacement, Pete Zarcone, who I hope that you come to know and respect as you have B, and I am just thrilled to be able to recognize B's magnificent service to the people of Hollywood by promoting her. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chief. I'd now like to recognize Joe Buscaino of the 15th District.
Thank you, Mr. President. I stand too and congratulate B as a new commander for the city of Los Angeles. I had an opportunity to serve in my probation here at Central Division, and B was my den sergeant. And as a young police officer, I knew then her leadership qualities as a young sergeant. And it's no surprise that you're here now as a commander. And we congratulate you. And the fact that you went back to an area that you knew well is something that we encourage all police officers. You know, when you live or work, have family in an area that you serve, you have that vested interest. And your success successes is because of the people that you know in the area and you continue to know and work with hand in hand. So thank you, Chief Beck, for continuing to empower her now on a citywide level. And to Pete Zarconi, who, when I was expressed interest in joining the police officer, I did my first ride-along with then Sergeant Zarconi, and we've come to Southeast Division, and we've come to realize that our family's from the same hometown, Bagheria in Sicily, and I'm sure we're related, we're cousins somewhere down the line. But congratulations to Captain Zarconi. Hollywood, you'll continue to be in good hands under his leadership and his command. Congratulations, we love you, and thank you for your continued service.
Okay, Mr. O'Farrell, Mr. Labange, back to you.
Let's have a big hand for B. Gramala.
Congratulations.
Thank you all so much for the privilege of being here in council chambers today, and I do underscore the fact that it is a privilege. Thank you to council members Mitch O'Farrell, Tom Labange, my boss, Chief Charlie Beck, for his confidence and support in me over the years. It has meant so much. It's meant so much not only to us personally as police officers, but to the city of Los Angeles. To the community members here today and those who could not make it into chambers today, please know that when we talk about community-based policing, it truly is a partnership. Success is not one-handed or the other. It has to be the hands joined together. And here is just a sampling of some of my esteemed colleagues, and I do say colleagues when we talk about the community, not only in Hollywood but citywide. To Captain Pete Zarconi, Pete, Hollywood will be in wonderful hands with you, and I thank you again for this opportunity. Again, thank you, Chief Beck. Also, thank you to the Los Angeles Police Commission as well. Thank you.
B, very good there. B, all the way, B. Just wanted to say, Mr. President, no police department in the world has a better badge than the Los Angeles Police Department, who represents the Grand City Hall of Los Angeles. And the fact that the police department used to be in here, but then they expanded, needed their own building, they moved across the street. We salute you with this proclamation, these flowers, which are so special, and also, underneath the Hollywood sign, the nuns got you a monastery bread because you're a sweet angel.
I
City of Angels.
Thank you.
Let's hear it.
Okay, let's give her one more round of applause, everyone. Again, congratulations. Congratulations.
Got it.
If you would retire to the photo room, we've got another presentation today by Mr. Weezar, Council District 14.
Thank you, Mr. President, and colleagues and public. I am honored here to recognize a premier hospital in the east side of Los Angeles that provides services for throughout the region, and they are celebrating their centennial this year, and I am talking about the White Memorial Medical Center, which is in Boyle Heights in Council District 14. This is a very exciting time for White Memorial as they celebrate 100 years of serving the community of Boyle Heights and surrounding communities. When White Memorial opened its doors in 1913, they were a small clinic staffed by medical students. And keeping communities in mind, their main focus was to always not only provide service for their patients, but to work to provide a healthy community. And that's what they have been doing for over 100 years when they were first founded by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Today, they are widely recognized as one of the premier nonprofit hospitals, not only in Los Angeles, but in all of California. It is a nonprofit, faith-based teaching hospital that provides a full range of inpatient, outpatient, emergency, and diagnostic services for our community. Services include behavioral medicine, cardiac and vascular care, intensive and general medical care, oncology, orthopedic care, rehabilitation, specialized and general surgery, and women and children's services. As a major teaching hospital, White Memorial also plays an important role in training physicians, nurses, and other medical professionals. Their employees embody a unique sense of mission, family, loyalty, trust, and commitment, which has been woven into the culture of the hospital for the past 100 years. Through its ongoing operations, its capital improvements, and the activities of physicians, the hospital generates about $1 billion in economic activity annually and provides more than 6,000 jobs in the Southern California region. And so we're here today not only to help them celebrate the 100 years of existence, but to thank them for their service that they provided the local community of Boyle Heights, Los Angeles, and to the medical profession. We are thrilled because not only have they been a mainstay in the Boyle Heights community, which is one of the first suburbs of the city of Los Angeles, but we're thrilled because of all their community activism, their contributions to the local community. We couldn't have asked for a better neighbor that provides so much in terms of health services and other benefits to its residents and to the residents of the city of Los Angeles. So with that, let me present this resolution certificate to Beth Zachary, the president of the hospital. On behalf of the city of Los Angeles, this council, and our mayor, thank you so much, Beth, and congratulations to White Memorial Medical Center.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Huge. It is huge.
Let me look over that.
Wait, I want Dr. Martinez and Gabby. Can you come over?
Sure. Can you say a few words, Beth?
Yes.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Councilman Huizar. Thank you most of all for the leadership and the support that you give our Boyle Heights community and the White Memorial Medical Center. And I want to thank the City Council for the very important investments that you're making in the East Side, in the housing and transportation and education. It's just so great to see our community really going to the next level. So, City Councilman, I want to thank you for everything that you and your family, Rochelle, do for our hospital.
Thank you. Do you want to introduce who's here?
I would love to. I would like to introduce Dr. Miguel Martinez, who is a surgeon at White Memorial, has served at White Memorial for many, many years. Today, he is the president of our 500 physician medical staff. You can introduce Gabby.
Thank you. Thank you for this honor. And again, thank you to Councilman Huizar. It is my pleasure to be here. I grew up in Los Angeles. I actually went to White Memorial as a high school student to see if this is what I wanted to do as a medical doctor. Spent the whole day there. I made my mind up. I came back. And it's interesting that how it's come to play. God has placed me in this position, 100 years of service to the community, and here the Latino is chief of staff at White Memorial, which says a lot of the reflection of White Memorial and how it serves the community. So I want to thank all of you for this honor. I want to thank Councilman Huizar. And again, may we go forward from this, and we will work together as partners in the future for the next 100 years. Thank you. I would like to present now Gabriela Barbarena, who is a member of our governing board and member of our charitable board.
Good morning, and thank you so much for allowing us to be here today. Thank you, Councilman Huizar, for all your help throughout the years. On behalf of the governing board of White Memorial, I do want to say thank you. It has been a privilege for me to serve on this board for a hospital that has so much heart for the community and the service it does. Thank you again.
Thank you. You want to introduce who else has joined us today? Just name them through? No. Thank you. And we have with us today Sarah Rubalcaba Beck, who's the manager at White Memorial, as well as Victor Dominguez from the YWCA, Dr. Martinez we introduced, and Cesar Armendariz, who is the vice president for business development at White Memorial. And we also have our good friend, city attorney, and your role there is?
I'm on the community leadership.
He's also on the community leadership. Do you know this guy? He's been our city attorney here for many years, our assistant city attorney here. So thank you so much. And congratulations again to the White Memorial Medical Center for 100 years of service to the community. Thank you.
Okay, now, I wanted to announce that Charles from Council District 13, Mr. O'Farrell, adopted our dog, so our 100% adoption rate still lives on. With that said, 100%. With that said, Mr. Fuentes, are you ready with your presentation, followed by Mr. Bonin?
Good morning, Council President, members, and when we get a moment here, we'd like to have Mr. Huizar join us, Ms. Martinez join us, Mr. Price, please join us. Morning, Mr. Price. We'll have Mr. Price join us in a second here. Mr. Cedillo, unfortunately, is unable to be with us today, but I wanted to ask my colleagues who are serving as co-chairs to join us today to celebrate this amazing group of people who are here with us today, who are helping us prepare, helping the City of Los Angeles prepare to celebrate El Grito this Sunday at City Hall. Mr. Price, come on up here. Mr. Price is also a sponsor of this event, along with Ms. Martinez, Mr. Cedillo, and Mr. Huizar. This year, I'm honored to serve as the chair of the organizing committee for this public ceremony and celebration. We also should acknowledge that Mayor Garcetti is also a sponsor for this event. Members, as you know, El Grito marks one of the most important dates on the Mexican cultural calendar, Mexican Independence Day. On September 15th, 1810, Father Miguel Hidalgo issued the historic battle cry known as El Grito de Dolores, which set the stage for the birth of the Mexican nation. On this anniversary of Father Hidalgo's historic grito, I am proud to honor the bravery and sacrifice of all of those who fought and died for the freedoms which we cherish here in the Americas. This event would not be possible without the help of some very key people standing here with me today, and I want to take some time to acknowledge them now. With us today is Consul General of Mexico, Carlos Sada. The consulate is essential to ensuring that this event goes smoothly every year, and it's an honor to have him here with us today. And I'd like to invite him to say a few words.
Muy buenos días. I'm delighted to be here. It is for us a tremendous honor to be recognized here in this chamber for a very special date in the history of Mexico, which is the celebration of the independence of Mexico. This year it is number 2003. So I want to thank Councilmember Fuentes for really being so instrumental in helping us in celebrating this year here. And we are going to be celebrating the Grito, which is a Sunday out of this building, right? In a very special ceremony, so all of you are invited to join us. We just had a tremendous parade last Sunday, so I've been here for only 2 months, but I'm thrilled to be the representative of Mexico in this very important and unique city of Los Angeles. So thank you to all of you on behalf of the Mexican government, on behalf of the Consulate of Mexico that I represent, and again, thank you, Councilmember Fuentes.
Thank you, Mr. Consul. Also with us, give him a big round of applause. And the Consul mentioned that we are celebrating this El Grito here at City Hall. Members, that's very significant because the Grito had to move to El Pueblo, and we're bringing it back to City Hall, Mr. Labange, which is its rightful place for the celebration. Also with us today is the Comité Mexicano Cívico Patriótico. This organization was established more than 80 years ago to make sure that Mexican traditions were maintained in Los Angeles by the Mexican-American community. We have the president of the Comité, Enendino Aguirre, today, and we'd like to invite him to say a few words as well.
Bueno, muy buenos días. Mi inglés no es muy bueno. Les voy a hablar en español.
My English is not that well, so I'm going to be speaking in Spanish.
Para mí es un honor estar esta tarde aquí.
It is an honor to be here this afternoon.
Donde se le está haciendo un reconocimiento a nuestro queridísimo cónsul, don Carlos Sada.
Where they are recognizing, I wasn't able to hear, I'm sorry.
Y bueno, pues próximamente el domingo ya tendremos el grito aquí. Yo como presidente del Comité Mexicano Psicopatótico.
We are going to have the grito here, and I, as the president, am very proud.
Gracias por la oportunidad que nos da el cónsul, el concejal Felipe
Thank you for the opportunity that the council member Felipe Fuentes and Yolanda Fuentes
sí,
is giving
muchísimas gracias
us.
por esas oportunidades que me dan de dirigirme a todos ustedes.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity that you are giving me to be able to speak to all of you.
Que Dios los bendiga y en buena hora,
God
señor
bless
cónsul
you.
y su cuerpo consular. Muy amable, gracias.
To our consul and to the staff from the consulate. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the El Grito will be televised on the Univision network across the United States as part of Mexican Independence Day special. This will provide an opportunity to showcase the city of Los Angeles to millions of viewers. Also here with us today is our major event sponsor this year, KMEX Univision 34, and with us is the general manager of the station, Alberto Mier y Terán.
Thank you very much. It's an honor for us to be here. We're ecstatic that we're doing the Grito event back at City Hall. We believe this is where it should be every year. And we really appreciate the leadership of Councilman Fuentes and the Mayor Garcetti, who Mr. Mayor has been very instrumental for us as well. And we are going to showcase the city of LA. The network is going to probably 12 or 13 live shots out of City Hall during the night, during prime time, and it will be showcased throughout the whole country. So we're excited to be here. Thank you for the partnership and the support.
Thank you. Also with us, I want to give our colleague Jose Huizar an opportunity to speak to this event. Jose, as you all know, members, is a real champion of his community, and he has been a real steward of this event and so many others like these in the city of Los Angeles. He really has set the threshold on how to do one of these events. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to do it on its first year and to bring it back to City Hall, Jose. But we've got tremendous chairs as well. Councilmember Price stepped up with his staff, as well as with the resources needed, as well as Ms. Martinez and Mr. Cedillo, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today. But I do want to invite Jose to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I want to give a huge congratulations to Mr. Fuentes, who's done a tremendous job on bringing this together. It's not an easy task to bring all the different organizations together and make it happen, but as we all know, El Grito is one of the most important dates for Mexico, and given that we are in the city with the second most number of Mexicans, only second to Mexico City, a lot of people take pride this time of year to celebrate the independence of Mexico. And as we celebrate the cultural independence of Mexico, the political independence of Mexico, we also celebrate our culture, our food, our music, and that is what we celebrate here at City Hall when we do El Grito. For me, as someone who was born in Mexico and now call the United States and Los Angeles home, it also reminds me of the great opportunities that this country provides for everyone. This is a land of opportunity where if you work hard, play by the rules, that the American dream is possible. And we continue to remind the world about that when we continue to celebrate our own respective cultures, no matter where we come from, and we continue to celebrate events like El Grito. Que viva México, que viva Los Ángeles, y que viva también nuestro nuevo cónsul de México, Sada.
Yes,
Gracias.
So again, members, I want to last close out by thanking all of the city staff that are helping us put this event together. Mr. Labange, this is an event that is coming back to City Hall. As I like to refer to the new class, the Tier 2 council members were sworn in July 1st, and we put this event together very quickly. And so it's going to be just as good as other events that we've had in the past. But I really do want to point out that all of the city family, in particular GSD with Eric Robles and Pierre Rio Talk, have been tremendous in helping us put this event together. So give them a bigger round of applause. I also want to thank Yolanda Fuentes Miranda, who more people know her than they know Felipe Fuentes, Rebecca Valdez, and Connie Llanos from my office, who have been real stewards in putting this event together. Thank you all very much. Sunday, 7 o'clock, you're all invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Oh, Mr. Labange.
Yeah, Mr. Fuentes, before everybody
Mr.
gets
Labange.
together. And the very special Consul General from Mexico. So nice for all of you to be here. The great thing about Los Angeles, it celebrates itself. And the great thing about the city, it's its diversity. Congratulations. Have a great Sunday night. Have a great night tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. One more round of applause. One more. They deserve it. Mr. Bonin, as they're working their way to the press room, if you could move forward to do your presentation for today.
Well, close. Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first presentation that I'm making as a member of the Council, and this one is very personal to me because it is about cancer. There's probably none of us here in this chamber who hasn't been touched in some way by cancer, a horrible plague that touches and takes so many lives. My life has been impacted in many ways by cancer. I wouldn't be here today if cancer hadn't done something that I didn't think was possible, which was slow down the force and the spirit that was Bill Rosendahl. Only temporarily, I'm happy to say. Only temporarily, I'm happy to say. But cancer also, just a few years ago, took the life of my younger sister. In June of 2010, I got a phone call and learned that my sister had a particularly aggressive and rare form of cancer. Didn't even have a name. That's how rare it was. Wasn't even in the oncology textbooks. Ironically enough, later that day, I was scheduled to sit on an indoor bicycle for 3 hours as part of an effort to raise money for ThinkCure. I was doing that at a fitness studio called Yaz, Yoga and Spinning. There were 4 of them in Los Angeles. I was doing this just downtown at one of the franchise studios. And it was to benefit ThinkCure, which is a charity that benefits collaborative research for cancer. It was founded by Howard Sunken, who many of you know here, by the Dodgers, and by Frank McCourt and his family. Frank and the family gave the original endowment for the charity, which funds research, collaborative research, on cancer at the City of Hope and Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We all know from dealing with bureaucracies that things can get siloed. And what ThinkCure tries to do is fund research that breaks down those walls and breaks down those silos and tries to find a cure and get us to where we need to be so that cancer is the kind of thing that doesn't rob us of our loved ones anymore. So this morning I wanted to bring ThinkCure before us to thank them for the work that they've done. They've raised about $3 million since they started just a few years ago and given away about $2 million to charity. And I also wanted to bring up Kimberly Fowler, who is the founder, the owner, the president of Yaz Fitness, started in Venice and has branched into 4 different studios. Kimberly herself is a survivor of cancer. She has done now 4 of these Yazathons at her studio. This year, she raised, I believe, over $300,000.
Good for you. Good for you.
In the 4 years that they have done the Yazathon, they have raised over $700,000 to benefit ThinkCure and to fight cancer. So first, I'd like to bring up Joe Fay, who is the new executive director of ThinkCure, to say a few words. Joe.
Thank you. So I'm Joe Fay. I am the Executive Director. It's an honor for us to be here. Thanks so much for having us. We have raised over $2 million to support collaborative cancer research at City of Hope and Children's Hospital Los Angeles. But that only happens because of the individual efforts of people like Mike Bonin and the efforts of companies like Yaz. So we're so grateful to you and to them for helping us raise this money that funds research that wouldn't be done without us. We're the official charity of the Los Angeles Dodgers, and we believe that just like Dodger baseball unites families and unites our community, so too can our fight against cancer unite us as a community. So it's an honor to be here. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to bring up Kimberly. Kimberly started Yaz over 11 years ago. It was one of the first hybrids of yoga and spinning, and every year she has tried to use her studios as a way to benefit the community. She's a phenomenal small businesswoman. She's joined here today by Sherry Rosen, who's the Vice President of Yaz and one of the best instructors they have there, and one of the most popular ones. Mr. President, when you see me come into Chambers in the morning and I'm in a good mood, that means I've been to Yaz that morning. If I'm kind of cranky, that means I haven't been there. This 10 a.m. Tuesday morning is kind of rough. I like Adam's class, 8:15 Tuesday morning, so if I'm a little late, that's why. I'd like to bring Kimberly up and thank her for everything she's done.
Come forward, Kimberly, please. And thank you so much. Give her a round of applause. She really deserves it.
Well, I'm honored to be here, and thank you. Mike has been a big supporter, Councilman Bonin has been a big supporter of Yaz, and I really do feel that as a local business, that people, as a local business, we should do what we can for charities. And Think Cure is an amazing organization, and I'm very proud to be part of it and be on the board of directors. And it's just the fact that it is a local and collaborative organization, and it's amazing. I can't say enough about it. And Mike actually was our. I keep calling him Mike just because
Mike is fine.
I've known him for 12 years now, since I opened Yaz. He was our #1 fundraiser this year. So, I mean...
good for Mike.
Good for Mike, right?
I discovered it's a lot easier to raise money after you get elected than before.
And I also want to, thank my partner and my vice president, Sherry Rosen. She was a big part of the Yazathon. She puts it together. All the back work is from Sherry. You want to just stay?
We really do appreciate this. We didn't expect this either. We don't do this for this. And hopefully one day we will be able to find a cure. That's what this is all about. I know all of us have been affected by cancer in one way or another, my parents. So we do this for personal reasons, and just thank you so much for this. We can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Take a picture here with these, and then we will do it in the back as well. Thank you. Coming back. Thank you. Yes, Mr. LaBonge.
Mr. LaBonge.
Mr. Bonin, thank you so much for bringing the attention to Think Cure and the organization in your neighborhood that is partnering and making a difference. My wife's a cancer survivor, 7 years. It's as if you got on a plane somewhere and didn't land for 7 years, because the battle wasn't that long. You didn't land until you beat the battle. And then every day you got to beat the battle of cancer. So I want to thank Cure 100%. You're hitting it out of the ballpark. So important what you're doing and organizing. And I want to thank your organization in Venice, because it's clusters of small groups that make a difference, that support people to fight cancer. Because I'm sure if I asked you to stand up, I bet you 25 people in this room either had it or have a family member who had it. It affects everybody. Mike Bonin, you're a true leader. Good job. Howard Sunken, I must say, very good. He once had a different job, and the key to his different job was never to speak at that microphone. He's keeping that. He's keeping that consistent rally. Good job. Thank you, Secure. Thank you, the McCord Group. Thank you
All right,
very
let's
much.
give them another round of applause. That ends today's presentations. Mr. Clerk, I quickly want to go to item 6, which was an ordinance. At this point, I'll ask for reconsideration on that. So let's prepare to vote on reconsideration on item 6. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now let's again vote on the item itself. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, so that passes. Mr. Englander, I think you have a very interesting group of people to introduce us to.
We've got before us our newest appointed members of the Fire Commission, and if I can ask them all to please take a seat here at the table. We can just pull a chair around, Sergeant. So we have 4 seats for them.
And for clarification, those would be items 2 through 5. Committee reports have been circulated and are now before Council for
Yes,
their
colleagues, I
consideration.
ask for all of your undivided attention, if I could. This is probably one of the most important commissions we could ever approve. The fire department is one of the most important functions of local government, and particularly the city of Los Angeles. I've had the honor of sitting with each and every one of these commissioners, soon-to-be commissioners, pending approval by this body, and got to talk about the challenges and the opportunities of the department and to hear their views and perspectives in great detail. I will tell you, we have a panel with incredible experience, diverse backgrounds in education and training, passion, that are very focused and committed to restoring and putting the department back on track and working closely with the men and women of the Los Angeles Fire Department. We're also very honored that 2 former members of the police or the Fire Commission, one here, Steve Fazio, is going to remain and keep that knowledge and experience, the passion that he's had, his dedication to the department and to this city, unparalleled by many. Going as he stays on the commission. And Alan Scobin, who, while not on the commission, was appointed to a new position that was created by our mayor. And I want to thank our mayor, Eric Garcetti, for thinking about one of the most important responsibilities in tracking response times and information data analysis, and his leadership in becoming a liaison now to the mayor directly on that. With that, if we can ask each commissioner just briefly, open it up. Give us your name, tell us who you are very, very quickly, and we want to make sure that we want to get this vote done as fast as possible because we want you on the job, on the commission, so you can dive deep, start meeting with the men and women of the department, the rank and file, all those folks in the stations, get your arms around all these problems and solutions and ideas with your experience, and we can start moving forward. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming this morning and spending an hour and a half in Public Safety Committee as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Englander. Thank you, Mr. Council President, and to all of you for having us here. We're really excited about the opportunity. My name is Andrew Glazier. I'm currently the Managing Director at City Year Los Angeles. We're an AmeriCorps-affiliated service program. We work in 22 schools that currently have nearly 300 young adults serving as tutors, tutors, mentors, and role models in grades 3 through 10. I'm a 4th-generation Angelino, and this is an opportunity that I'm tremendously excited about, and I look forward to working with all of you to do exactly what Councilmember Englander says to ensure that our fire department is the very best it can be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Hara. I'm a physician. I'm a family physician, and I was the family medicine program director at Kaiser Permanente training residents for 25 years. I retired from Permanente after 38 years of service with them 3 years ago, and I'm currently the associate dean at Charles River University of Medicine and Science. And I was actually called by my former patient, Mayor Eric Garcetti, who asked me to serve on the Fire Commission because he felt he wanted someone who had medical knowledge to serve in that role. And so I'm really honored and humbled to be able to serve in that capacity.
Hi, my name is Delia Ibarra, and I'm a lawyer in Los Angeles. I live in Echo Park. I grew up in unincorporated East LA. I'm very excited about this opportunity. I've had the opportunity to meet some of the council members and their staff and learn about some of your concerns. Very excited about working with all of you because I know that we all have the best interest of the city and this department at heart, and I'm very excited about it.
Good morning. My name is Jimmy Woods-Gray. I'm a retired teacher of 46 plus years for the Los Angeles Unified School District. And to the president of the council and to my Councilman Parks and to all of my other friends who are on this council, I am so excited to be able to work with my friends in a different capacity as a member of the Fire Commission. I'm very excited because, as many of you know, I love serving. And I give 100%, and I'm excited to be able to serve the citizens of Los Angeles and to help the council and the mayor to move us back to our basic services. That is a goal that we want to do, is to provide services for citizens. And I believe the services the fire department provide are extremely important because not only do they help us with our economic development, because when businesses look at our city, they want to know if it's a safe place to be. So the fire and the police commissions and departments and men and women in those departments are very important. I look forward to working with all the people who are involved with the Fire Commission, the City Council, the Mayor's Office. And Mr. President, I would not like to be remiss without introducing, I have a number of guests in the back, which includes my family.
Let's have them all rise.
My family.
And your extended family.
My extended family, New Frontier Democratic Club, the LA County Democratic Party, Stonewall Democratic Club, DFI, and I might have missed, and my friends from the Korean community are back there. I have my friend from Linwood.
So you brought a posse.
I have my treasurer from UTLA. So I have a lot of people back there. I hope I didn't miss anybody, but I'm extremely excited, and they're excited. And it's really great for the city of LA because when you bring this extended family together, we have a real team, and we will get work done.
Go on with your bad stuff.
I just want to say that the rest of us brought family too, and I hope that they could,
Where's your all of the families for all of the commissioners? Please stand up. All of the family and friends. All of them.
Thank you so much for coming.
That's a great crowd. Look behind you on both sides. Mr. Englander, we have Mr. Labange on the queue. Mr. Labange.
Thank you. I think it's only fitting that you salute the families, Mr. President, because the fire department, among all our city departments, are as close as a family because they room together. They serve 24 hours a day. There's 107 fire stations in every community of Los Angeles, so you have a very important role. Our job is to find ways to get more revenue to help the fire department. In my district in particular, right by Children's Hospital, Truck 35 is a light force now. It used to be a task force. Truck 20 is a light force now. It used to be a task force. Truck in Echo Park, Mr. O'Farrell. Truck 50 in Glassell Park is a light force. That's 3 engines that are not available for Elysian Park, the grasslands of Mount Washington, and Highland Park, and Glassell Park, and Griffith Park. So our job, members, is to find a way, and I'm looking and researching around the state. I know some of you go into the League of Cities, which is so important, to see what other agencies are doing. There's a Ventura County Fire District that has an assessment that gives funds right back to the fire service. because we really need the fire service, because within, for sure, there'll be another earthquake. And it was 94, the last one in Northridge, 71 in Sylmar, 51 in the Hatchapies, 33 in Long Beach, which you know changed the Fields Acts for all the schools and the school work that you did. All the way back to San Francisco. We have to be prepared, and there's less than 1,000 firefighters working today. So that's our challenge. I want you to pressure us as much as we'll try to help you to find a way. And I just wanted to thank you. And also, since you have such a big family here, I hope they all go up to the Tom Bradley Tower after you get sworn in by the city clerk. All the families do, because it's a wonderful view of the city, and reflect on this important historic day as you become commissioners. And you sure you want me to vote for you like that, Andrew? Well, you're standing there. Okay, now. Okay, you're going to be commissioners of one of the greatest fire services of Los Angeles. And lastly, you saw the tragedy in New Jersey, the conflagration of buildings, the work that the fire department does with the building department to make sure there's safety. Safety is so key. Thank you for serving, and I'm honored that you're doing that. And Mr. Garcetti could have picked 4 finer people. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Mr. Englander to close.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad many of you brought your family here. In fact, not just your family. You filled council chambers. We're going to be empty right after this. You realize that, because they're going to leave and go celebrate, and then get to the real work done. I want to urge all of my colleagues to vote yes. I ask for an aye vote on these 4 candidates for Fire Commission. I know they're going to do an outstanding job, and they'll be back here regularly to work with each and every one of us. Mr. Labange brought up the issues in his district, and we all share those. We talked about a lot of those issues this morning in committee as well. And so without further ado, not only do I ask for your aye vote, I ask in advance that we send this forthwith. Thank you.
Okay, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, let's move this forthwith. Congratulations, commissioners, and again, Mr. Clerk, forthwith.
Mr. President, would you like to recess the regular meeting and go into the special?
Yes, I would, Mr. Clerk.
Very good, sir. Blumenfield, Bonner, Buscaino, Cedillo, England, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Corcoran, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson, 11 members present, and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, on this special item, I've got 2 cards, Mr. Arnold Sachs and Mr. John Walsh. Mr. Sachs, Mr. Walsh, please come forward. Morning, Arnold. Come on, Arnold. Mr. Sachs, good morning.
1 second now.
No. Oh, I get it. Okay, Mr. Labange, if we can move over somewhat, go in the back. All right, Mr. Sachs, come forward.
Yes, yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. The reason I held this actually is not necessarily based on your decision, but it's based more about your concerns about walkways and another category for city funding for differential between...
Hold your point, Arnold. And why don't you just wait a second? Hold his clock. Okay, if we could have some quiet. Shh. Go on, Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Again, it's the division, the categorizing in the city's, I don't know, classifications. This is dealing with walkways. A couple of weeks ago, Mr. Bonin had an item on the agenda regarding the curbways for the roadways. There's been some stories in the newspapers regarding the city's policy about parkways, which is not the curbways, and it's not the roadways, and it's not the sidewalks, and it's not the right-of-ways. It's the area between the sidewalks, the right-of-ways, and the roadways, and the curbway. Then you have here, on April 10, 2013, the LADOT report regarding infrastructure in the public right-of-way, which, parentheses, is a sidewalk. So I'm concerned because each one of these categories essentially involves funding, because that's what it's all about. Councilman LaBonge just mentioned the difference in categories about the fire departments with the difference in the engines. One fire company has 3 engines, a different type of fire agency. So these categories become essentially very important, and how the money is spent for upkeep. We have numerous items here regarding maintenance of sidewalks, but we have no items regarding maintenance of right-of-ways.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Walsh.
Always fast when I'm called. I consider this a privilege, not that you gave me, that Ralph M. Brown gave me, who is a dead senator now. Okay, walkways. It concerns walkways. $5 million, 100%. Why are we in favor of walkways? Well, you know, the federal government, last time you had a derailment that killed a concentration camp survivor, wrote a report and said that Angel's Flight needed walkways. And you have still not put a walkway on Angel's Flight. And I'm telling you that Leo Berger, my great-grandfather, if he were here, we'd say, "Yeah, a bunch of the tomato, you killed one of my people."
Mr. President, he is not talking about this item.
Mr. Walsh, stay on this subject.
I understand the anti-Semitism up here. Black anti-Semitism is cool. But I want to tell you right now that if walkways had been on Angel's Flight, which you control, the slowest...
This is not about Angel's Flight.
Walkways!
John, please. John, please.
I just want every Jew to understand.
Okay, your time is forfeit. Stop his time. Okay, there's a young lady okay, now you're disrupting the meeting, John. Sergeant, where's Johnson? Didn't you say that there was one other person that requested? Veronica? Please come forward. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. President and Council. My name is Veronica Sands, and I am a member in your council, Mr. President, as well as my mother. She's a resident of Rosa Park Villas, and I'm sure if she knew I was here in front of the City Council, she would be very angry with me. However, I am the voice for my mom because she is a senior citizen. I appreciate you closing down the south side of the freeway on Crenshaw and the 10 freeway where the vagrants are, but now they are on Bronson.
We're going to move
from
it.
Adams, and my
We're
mother
going to do both sides.
Okay, my mother is scared to walk out of her apartment building to go to the bus stop.
Tell her I'm going to do both sides.
I just want to voice my concerns as a child of a parent who's in a senior citizen building that's supposed to be protected.
You share my concerns as well, and we're going to close both of them.
I appreciate that. And one more item. It's not Bronson, yes, but will you please take care of Martin Luther King and Buckingham Road?
You got to stay on the subject. I'm going to do.
Okay.
I'm going to do my very.
Okay.
I'm going to do my very best.
Thank you.
Okay. And tell your mother that I hope to have that done very quickly.
Okay, I will inform her.
All right. Okay. So let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Forthwith, Now, Mr. Clerk, if we could return to the regular agenda.
Very good, sir. We'll adjourn the special meeting and return to the regular.
Okay, I'd like to take up item 11. At this point, I have cards. I have Merv Evans, Mr. Sachs, and Mr. Walsh. Good morning.
Once again, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Wesson, for your outstanding leadership, scandal-free leadership, and a vision for the future of Los Angeles. As a national leader, you exemplify the very best leadership qualities there are. Let me share with you that I know that you are deeply concerned about our senior citizens. And
Mr. President, he is not talking about this item.
Yes, I am. This new health department...
Merv. Connect to the item.
Okay. This new opportunity for a new city health department will focus in, I hope, on the senior citizens who desperately need those services. I'm very confident that you'll be able to coordinate environmental protection services, law enforcement to protect our environmental services, and fire hazard services also. I have tremendous confidence that this new agency will serve our seniors very well. And I know, under your outstanding leadership, Mr. Wesson, that our seniors can be confident that it will serve our city well. Thank you. Merv Evans. Please visit the website, mervinevans.com.
Okay, Mr. Sachs, I think you're next, or Mr. Walsh. Here you are. Please come forward.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, Arnold Sachs. They just actually put a motion in on the County Board of Supervisors to discuss this. They're against it on the County Board of Supervisors. And in a lot of ways, so am I, because there's unlimited pie here of funding from federal government, state government, grants, however you want to look at it, that become available for health services. And so by putting this initiative on the ballot, a small group of people will be looking to divide a pie that is shrinking every day because of the federal government's sequestration, lower incomes, loss of manufacturing jobs, all the input and all the effects that affect funding for government programs are shrinking. And yet you want to look at taking money out of this shrinking pie and use it yourselves. Do you have a plan for, look at the economic development department that you put together. It's been 8 months. Do you have a budget? Do you have personnel? Do you have all the infrastructure in place? Do you have a cost estimate on what it would cost to do this? Do you have the facilities? Do you have the medical personnel? All the facilities. Again, you have problems with the fire department and response for emergency personnel, and you're looking to serve a health department. Doesn't make sense.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. I'd like to take a moment before Mr. Walsh starts and recognize our own Reggie Jones Sawyer, now an assemblyman for the great state of California. Let's give Reggie. It's good to see you. I just saw your mother last week. Anyway, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential. Always a pleasure to appear after Mervyn Evans, our next state senator. Now, this issue here, let me explain. This is madness. I am 100% in favor of the City Council. I don't come up here and give you reasons to vote no on everything. When they do a good job, and anyone who watches this knows, when they do a good job, I say it. This is the work of one organization, AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Now, gay men are not #1 targets for AIDS anymore. It's minorities. And minorities are not being served by AIDS Healthcare Foundation because their obsession here is to strip the county of the health department and move it over here. Now, why would you do that? Because Michael Weinstein, who makes $300,000 a year, is in a snit. Two Jews fighting, Zev and Weinstein. As a Jew, I understand. Now, I don't want the city of Los Angeles to spend $4,700,000 switching from the county to the city for health department. How many people besides those directly employed by Michael Weinstein are in favor of this? Zero. Zero. How many, and you know, I don't get along with Zev, but how many people are coming to coming to the supervisors, and I go there often, and complaining about the health department? Zero. They complain about the DCFS. The health department is doing a good job here, and now money that should be spent on minority AIDS health care is being spent on millions and millions of dollars of Michael Weinstein's ego. And now you have a lawsuit, and I'm sure we are not going to have to vote on this. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thanks, Mr. Walsh. Gavin Glenn and Deborah Varnado. Gavin, please come forward. Go right ahead.
Good morning. My name is Gavin Glenn, and I am a parent, and I live in Council District 10, West Adams. I'm also the producer of the West Adams Jazz Festival, which was very successful last weekend, and the First Lady of City Council was in attendance. I'm here, the reason I bring this up is because we have a great community, we have a safe community, and we do what we can to govern ourselves. I believe that is the American dream, and we're trying to keep our community safe. But as a result of putting the freeway through our community, there are consequences that come with them, and that is the freeway divided up one beautiful community into two communities, and now it's become a way station for all of Los Angeles.
Gavin,
so we're looking for
this card is on the health department. So I would love to let you continue, but you have to speak to the item which is before us.
I apologize.
And I congratulate you on the jazz conference. So you have to speak to this item, or I'm going to have to take your time away.
I am a pro-advocate as a single gay man who adopted 5 children from DCFS. I will tell you that Dr. Weinstein, who we just spoke about, is an amazing man. He incredible in serving the DCFS. Anything that we can do to advocate for the Minority AIDS Project, and I can tie this in, the founder of the West Adams Jazz Festival is also the founder of the Black AIDS Project, Bob Jones. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Mr. President and members of the council. I'm here to speak on item number 12-1500, and I can wait until that comes up before the council. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me look. Have we already dealt with that? That was the special item, Deborah, that we did in the special committee, so it's already gone forthwith. Okay, with that said, I've got some members on the queue, but I'd like to have Harit, Holly, and anyone else that might have information that could answer questions from this council. And we'll start off. Where's Reggie, Tom? Reggie, grab a mic and say hello to everybody real quick. 1 minute. Assembly member.
Hi. I'm on break. And some of you actually know what that means. Mr. Blumenfeld, Mr. Fuentes, and of course Mr. Price. We finished up. I may be lucky enough to have 10 bills get out my freshman year. I have 5 that are sitting on the governor's desk, 5 he's already signed. And it's really been great to be on the other side as opposed to being here at the city of LA for 25 years. So I just went to check on my mortgage, and because I still got my mortgage with the city of LA and checking on my retirement stuff. So I decided I would come over here and say hi.
We're glad to hear that, and good luck with your bills remaining on the governor's desk. Okay, so with that said, Mr. Fuentes, you're the first.
Mr. England.
Okay, Mitchell, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead. Let staff go first.
Okay, we'll start with you. Harit.
Good morning, council members. Harit Trivedi from the City Attorney's Office. And Holly Walcott, Interim City Clerk. Before you today is a resolution for consolidation of an election with the county election conducted in June 2014. As you recall, the council was presented with a certified initiative petition regarding the creation of a city health department a few months back, and the council, per the charter, acted to determine to place that measure on the June 2014 county ballot, and also directed the city to seek judicial determination as to the validity of that measure prior to the election. Because the June 2014 election is a county-run election, the city has to formally request consolidation with the county, and that's what this resolution is in front of you. It's a piece of election administration. The resolution also provides, however, that in the event that a court determines that the measure is invalid, that the request for consolidation is withdrawn and null and void. So we still have that as our process. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Holly, did you want to speak to that?
I think he covered it beautifully.
Okay, Mitchell, you want to start this off?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Mitch first.
Yeah, this is a complete waste of our time, quite frankly. It's ridiculous that they've actually gone out there and spent their time collecting signatures under a lie. And that's what they've done. The signature gatherers were out there collecting these signatures. I saw them throughout my district, and I stopped often and talked to them and said, what are you collecting signatures on? And they came back and they said, well, it's creating a health department in the city, but it would cost no money. There's nobody right now doing it. I said, doesn't the county do that? And they said, no, they don't have a health department. They just lied, outright lied, and said all kinds of things that just absolutely weren't true. I was floored, every single one of them. And we need to create some laws in this initiative process where there's truth in signature gathering, where you hire, and special interests hire signature gatherers to put things on the ballot that ends up costing us millions of dollars and force us to do it, then they're not honest about what they're presenting. And it's just wrong. And so, I don't support this. I think we ought to fight it, but we can. I know our hands are tied behind our back, but I still don't support it. I also don't support the fact that we've got responsibilities here. If the county's got some issues, we can work with our partners in the county to fix some of that. That falls under their purview. Under our purview, we've got issues of, we just had the Fire Commission up here recently. We're talking about restoring millions of dollars to a department that's critically important to save lives that's been decimated over the years. We've got to do that. We've got to fix our streets and sidewalks and take care of our infrastructure. We just had an issue with how we're going to fix the homeless population here, and we've got all those issues that are under our purview, and how to maintain quality of life and safety and health that relates to what's under our purview in our own districts and citywide. The fact that this is being forced upon us is a lie, it's wrong, it's disingenuous, and the people who put this out there, it's just, people need to let them know that what they're doing is manipulating the process and taking advantage of the public. Thank you.
Mr. Fuentes.
Well, Mr. Chair, I didn't push my button, but I'm happy to speak on this measure. The report city attorney mentioned that you were all seeking a determination on whether to proceed with this resolution. Can you give us a little bit of background on why it is that we have to place this before the voters, and what the legal question was as instructed by the council some time ago?
I can in general terms, however, if we want to get into the legality of the measure and the city's execution on the direction to seek a judicial declaration regarding the validity of it. That's something we should do in closed session, and we'd be happy to have that either at a future date or even today. But in general terms, measure qualified for the ballot by having sufficient number of signatures turned in on petitions, and the charter therefore requires that the city either call a special election on the measure immediately, enact the ordinance without alteration, or, and this is what occurred here, determined to place the ordinance on the next ballot at which all city voters are voting, which is the June 2014 ballot. The City Council also at that time also directed the City Attorney's Office to seek a judicial determination as to the validity of the measure and as proceeding as well.
Very good. With that being said, per the City Attorney's recommendation, Mr. President, I'd ask that this measure be held on the table so we can go into closed session and discuss it.
It wasn't the City Attorney's recommendation.
There were elements of this legal determination that couldn't be discussed in the public.
As closed session?
It's not agendized as closed.
We would be happy to come back in a closed session presentation.
Is there a deadline on this item?
Well, the item needs to get adopted as soon as possible.
If you could give us a limit on sort of what soon as possible means.
We'd ideally like it adopted today or Tuesday. I know the council's on recess after that for various reasons.
Well, Mr. President, for the record, I would like to hear what the legal determination is, the closed session item that the City Attorney mentioned before I could cast a vote.
What we'll do is continue this to Tuesday. That's okay, Mr. City Attorney?
That's fine.
No problem. And over there, get it. Mr. Englander?
And ask that my colleague's recommendation to not just continue it, but re-agendize it as a possible closed session item. So
very good, very good. Good point. And Mr. City Attorney?
And I'll work with the clerk's office regarding the appropriate language.
All right, so order. Next item.
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 10, called special for Councilman Labange.
We just want to get this done, so let's call for the vote right now. This is Barham, Cahuenga, congested area. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Forthwith. Next item will be item number 1. Mr. Sachs, are you still here? Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Have a good weekend. Mr. Walsh, followed by Mr. Herman. Got it.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or just go to J. Walsh Confidential. This is item 1. Now, why am I wasting my breath up here? Because every day that you see a hit-and-run driver or someone on alcohol killing or maiming someone in the street, and it could be your family next, remember, the primary reason is we have more alcohol licenses granted. I can't remember the last time you voted against one. Can anyone remember? No. This is for Northgate Market in South Central. South Central did have activists for a while who were fighting it, fighting the concentration, particularly in South Central. I just want to say everything to every Hispanic and black person, African American, living in South Central. Do you feel that your public convenience is being violated because you don't have enough places to buy liquor? Is it a necessity? Because these white people are going to get up there, and it's all white people who own these places, and they're going to put a new place at 5849 South Central, so you'll only have to walk 2 feet instead of 1 feet for alcohol. And remember, the white man destroyed the Indian with firewood.
Come on, let's stay on that.
I believe that alcohol licenses are racism. If you don't think so, then the white man owns you. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. Is that the last card on this item? Mr. Herman? No. That's why I asked. Mr. Herman.
I brought in my fancy shirt, but not my socks. Sorry. I tried calling City Hall in regards to this situation at 5949 South Central Avenue, but as you can see, I spoke about this situation before. How can we continue to give permits for licensing alcohol beverages in every corner, in every area where there's transportation? Is that the necessity that we're inquiring about? We had a discussion about health and how good it can benefit, and then how bad it can not help. We heard stories about people's cancers. And alcohol can be a cancer. Why? Because of its effect upon us. It affects us in many ways. Mr. Weezer is not here. He can learn something from this, but I'll give him a call on my banana regarding that. But going back to this, Mr. Walsh's point is very true and very correct. There are people who can control their substance abuse. Mr. Wesson, you're well aware of that. Your son got through that experience very well, and I commend him for that. But there are others who can't control the abuse of alcohol. They're trapped, and we need more reasons to put permits and issue permits when it comes to alcohol, because the consumption of it doesn't make us healthier. It may make some of us wiser. Sorry, Mr. LaBonge. But yes, at 5849 South Central has been impacted through decades and decades of abuse of permitted alcohol, not just in restaurants, but in liquor stores, and now we're even going to the grocery stores. What a shame. Call me.
Thank you. Okay, members, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, I think we now move to item 7, which is held special by cards. Again, I have Mr. Sachs, Mr. Walsh, and Mr. Herman on item 7. Please come forward, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Walsh passes. Mr. Sachs.
Good morning, thank you. Actually, Mr. President, if you don't mind, because they are somewhat combined, I would, because I'm going to talk 7 and 8. Item 7 refers to housing revenue bonds. And again, this is a mosquito on an elephant's butt. And item 8 refers to conduit revenue bonds. They're two housing projects. Item 7, though, is 9400 South Spring Street. And item 8, the location of the housing, is in Silver Lake Village. So there's quite a disparity in the locations of both these housing projects. And just as an example, a few weeks ago you had an item on your agenda regarding property that was owned by the CRA that was going to be returned to the CRA on Southwestern Avenue for $2 million. And yet, a few years ago, you had property in Hollywood that was bought by the CRA for redevelopment for $500,000. So I'm just curious, A, there's a debt service payment. What would be the difference? Maybe you might address it to your constituents so they know the difference between the housing revenue bonds and the conduit revenue bonds, what the service is on them, what the debt service payment is on them, and why the difference. Why the difference? Is it based on the location? Is it based on a fee? Is it based on responsibility if there's a foreclosure? What would be the differences between these two types of bonds? Because again, the disparity in the regions, one being South Central and one being in a highly developed area, is reason to ask questions. It's the politics.
Hey, Arnold, thanks, but why don't you stay right down here? We're going to go to 8 next. Mr. Herman.
I took the two of them together.
No, well, you have 1 minute left. Mr. Herman, but I'm just saying stay close so we can get to 8. No, come on, Mr. Herman. This is on item 7. Let me run the meeting. Come on.
Fellow councilman, MOU 35, what does it mean? Failure to direct an account. What account, MOU 35? But let's get on to topic now. Communication from the Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment. Funds allocated should be for the purpose of how we spend, how we do our checks and balance when it comes to deferring bonds, deferring state and federal fundings that go to such elaborate constitutional projects that are to open our minds to what Los Angeles is trying to do to expand on the idea of how funding which we're still in a recession because the jobs are not here. Many of your constituents behind me have already left because they're looking for a job still. Look around you. But on topic, Dion, I'm back on it. Waste and fraud should be calculated into these type of bonds under housing revenue funds. David Salzberg, Zumadog, emphasize how the funds and the waste.
Stay on this subject, Mr.
On
Herman.
bonds, on all these housing issues that he brought to your attention under Housing Authority have failed. When will you open up your eyes as council members and look into the depth of what you're doing to make our communities better? Isn't there any compassion to really save a taxpayer's dollars as opposed to fraud and waste when it comes to housing improvements under revenue bonds? And at number 13, let me not forget, MOU 35, failure to direct.
Stay on this subject. Okay, let's. There are no more speakers. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, now we're on item 8. I was informed by Mr. Sachs that he's satisfied and will not be speaking on item 8, that he incorporated it into his item 7. So now we have Mr. Walsh on item 8. And I'm informed you have 1 minute, John.
And Mr. President, there's been a request to send item 7 forthwith, sir.
Without objection, that'll be the order. Yes.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential. Number 8 concerns $13 million in tax-exempt multifamily revenue bonds for the Silver Lake Village project. You know what tax-exempt means? That huge corporations that invest here in tax do not have to pay taxes on it. So remember, what we're talking about here, the big winner in all this are the banks who funnel the money to and fro on this tax-exempt bond. And the banks are picked by the folks up here. So often it sounds good, but if you look carefully, we spend more money per unit for housing construction than any other city in America. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you on that. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right, Mr. Clerk, that brings us where?
Mr. President, that brings us to general public comment for items called special, or excuse me, for items not on council's agenda.
Okay, so I want to start off with Mr. Sachs. Is Cooper here? Bobby Cooper? I don't see him. John Walsh, please come forward. And Merv Evans, those will be our first 3 speakers. John, start it off.
John started off? Don't go there, please.
Arnold started off, and I apologize.
You know, this time I'll accept the apology, but next time I will not accept the apology. You know, I was actually going to talk about a couple of different things, but I consider, and I thank Councilman Labange actually, for again opening a window somewhat and explaining when the fire commissioners were here about the life force versus the task force and the need for the trucks or the lack of the trucks or the lack of the funding. And we had a couple of different councilmen, Councilman Labange, Councilman Englander, when we talked about the health care initiative, mentioned funding. So here's a suggestion, not a mean suggestion. You found funding for a 30% pay raise for the Coalition of Workers in City Hall after you went bankrupt or threatened to hear bankruptcy. 2008, 2009, 2010, sliding down the banister, jet speed. Yet you found money for a 30% pay raise, 5%, 5.5% over 6 years, 5 times. $30 million plus. It's $150 million you added to the general fund needed to pay. We had a story about Mr. Weezer and his staff allegations of a staff member. A staff member who started working in 2008 went from $49,000 to $133,000 or $113,000, give or take a few $1,000s in 2012. Found money for that. 20 staff members per council district. And I kind of believe that they weren't the only staff members. Now, if you can find money there, find money for the fire department, do that, and stop complaining.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Merv Evans, followed by John Walsh.
First off, I want to thank all the good citizens throughout the city who have called me up with their concerns after reading the candidate statement. I appreciate your thoughtfulness. I appreciate the contribution. I appreciate the knowledge that you shared to me. However, I'm very depressed to say, Mr. Wesson, that I had a few phone calls from some very vicious people who said some very derogatory things about the young people in South Los Angeles. Let me make something very clear. I stand with our Boy Scouts. Okay, number 2, I do not believe that gay education is good for our children. And number 3, I don't think little girls should go in the boys' bathroom. And I hope that this city will stand with the Boy Scouts, that will stand with traditional values. We have far too many neighborhoods in our minority community that need Boy Scouts, that don't have a Boy Scout troop to work with. And that's a disgrace. And let me close off with one last remark. Mr. Wesson, I hope to come back Wednesday as a member-elect for the state senate. But more importantly, I want to really thank you for the outstanding leadership you provide the city. Merv Evans, please visit the website mervinevans.com. And whether you're in the Valley or you're in South Los Angeles, on Tuesday, it's time for you to go vote. Merv Evans, thank you.
Good luck to you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you.
Mr. Walsh, followed by Victor Marmon. Victor. And after Victor, Candido, are you here? Okay. So go ahead, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. J. Walsh Confidential. J. Walsh Confidential 100% endorses Mervyn Evans. You know, his opponent, the Assemblywoman Holly Mitchell, she's not bad, but she's invisible. She's my Assemblywoman. She has never sent me a piece of mail. She is the invisible woman. He's the visible man. Vote for him. As far as my website is concerned, you know, I get detailed analytics, and in the last 3 hours on the website, last 2 hours, 13 from the United States coming to my website, 1 from Alaska, another one from India. People are interested in what was happening here in India, and 1 from the United Kingdom. The whole world is interested. And you know what I say to the whole world? You can check this out, I'm not lying. Do not come to Hollywood for your vacation. The reason that B. Gramala was kicked upstairs to commander, and it's the easiest job over there, is all the crime in Hollywood. She wasn't able to control things. Now, I promised you last week, Wednesday, that I would put the picture of the child sleeping on Hollywood Boulevard. He's here. What a disgrace. Sunset and Vine. And I understand when I talk about sex trafficking, all of a sudden people like Mitch O'Farrell call me a homophobe. Because Mitch O'Farrell has no interest in sex trafficking. In fact, this kid is kind of cute. Take a look at him. You have a picture in your office. And we're also asking that there be a monument for Alice Grupione. You killed her on the boardwalk. That you put and I am talking to the Italian ambassador about this. You don't care a damn about who you kill or the children you strand in Hollywood. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Victor, followed by Candido, followed by Mr. Herman.
Mr. President, members of the Council, my name is Victor Marmon. I represent Janice and Henri Lazaroff. I rise to ask you to reconsider your vote on September 11, 2013 on Agenda Item 16, which is Council File 130804S1. The ZA determined after public hearing that the evidence did not support the making of any of the 5 findings required for a zone variance. The West LA APC held 2 public hearings and came to the same conclusion. The Bel Air Beverly Crest Neighborhood Council, the Hillside Federation, Save Our Mountains, Inc., community leaders and neighbors of 360 North Stone Canyon Road all asked that you vote against the zone variance appeal. Honorable Council members, the findings submitted by the applicant appellant to Plum were approved by Plum without public review and without any opportunity for the public to meet and rebut those findings. Those findings which you adopted on September 11 were not supported by the evidence that was before the ZA before the record was closed. Those findings relied on a declaration submitted by the applicant appellant's engineer that contained statements not made at the public hearing and not otherwise in the record before the ZA before the record was closed. For these reasons and others in the record of this zone variance case and council file, we ask that you reconsider your vote on Agenda Item 16 from September 11, 2013, and then vote to deny the zone variance appeal and against the adoption of the related MND, and we thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Mr. Marmon, it's good to see you again. Okay, Veronica Sants, Bobby Cooper, Candido. I'm reading their names into the record. Come on, Candido. Followed by Mr. Herman, followed by Richard Robinson. Please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council members, with me are my regular friends here, but we have a new addition, Mr. Sam Martinez. He's a new business owner here, and he's in Mr. Price's district, and he had a wonderful event not too long ago where he brought the community together to celebrate the heritage and the beauty of your area there, sir. I want to compliment the President, Mr. President, you and the Council, and Mr. Our mayor for the selection of the fire commissioners. Outstanding group, and the one that yesterday was the police department, water and power commissioners, and they also were very outstanding. But we were missing one person, Mr. President. We're missing somebody that's going to challenge the Department of Water. We need somebody at the Department of Water and Power that will make not only management and the commissioners, but who will go out and work with the people that we have probably the finest public utility department in the city of Los Angeles. It just needs to have a little more help in getting some of the overhead under control. So I would ask, Mr. President, that next time you talk to Mr. Garcetti that the Candido Maris is available, and I promise you I will save $25 to $50 million within the first year, because I will show them how to make the cuts so that the ratepayers benefit from this. And again, remember, we have the best public utility in the DWP, but it's all about the ratepayers. And if we're not helping the ratepayers, and if we're not helping them, the seniors who are not flushing their toilets, if you go around the city of Los Angeles, you see more brown lawns than you've ever seen in the world, because people cannot afford to water their lawns. So, Mr. President, thank you, and thank the Council and Mr. Garcetti for the wonderful selections and commissioners that have come up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and a pleasure to see you again. Mr. Herman, Mr. Robinson, and Michael Lawrence Dickerson. Okay. Mr. Herman.
Did you call, Mr. Weston? I'm in the house.
Start his time.
Here we go, folks. The American with Disability Act, Title II Technical Assistant Manual. How far will the city of Los Angeles go to refuse, deny people with disability the right for their safety, not just on streets, but on our personal sidewalks? How constructive or useful or effective you will be, Los Angeles, Instead of becoming lawmakers, we should point our idea to what people must view as what is corruption in Los Angeles nowadays. Is it visible? Is it white-collared? What's the ineffect of it? What's the contradiction of it? Is it inconsistency, opposite, or opposition? Or are we in a disarray of disorder and failure to be competent in our ideas, innovative, to put people back on the sidewalks and streets so they can use transportation in a safe and humane manner? We're not. So I say to you, Mr. Jose Huizar, call me. Please, call me, honey, anytime. But going back on topic, in conclusion, and it bothers me that we have sidewalks that we can't even walk on, right? Where are these funds going under DOD? Where's the responsibility of the city of Los Angeles to improve our sidewalks for people with disability who are injured and trip and slip and fall? Where? Are we supported by a legislation? Absolutely not. Because if you're willing to change our government, call 213-481-1425 and ask our legislator,
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Thank you. Mr. Richard Robinson, followed by Michael Lawrence Dickerson, followed by Daniel Jones. Dan Jones. Yes, Mr. Robinson.
Members, when we went to the moon, we did not go to the moon. Sir, President Obama's former spiritual leader is not wrong. Reverend Wright is not wrong. The pronoun we referred to black people. Reverend Wright is right. Black people did not go to the moon. The ensuing brouhaha during President Obama's campaign was utilized by people who are very gullible to try to destroy the president's candidacy. The Los Angeles Times front page headline pictures a milestone. After 40 years, Voyager has left the heliosphere and has entered interstellar space. Utilizing Richard Branson's new technology, it is now possible to piggyback on a jumbo jet and begin routine flights at cost, eliminating the tremendous expense of boosting the space shuttle.
Mr. President, he's not talking about an item that's within the jurisdiction of the city of Los Angeles.
Pardon me.
Okay, continue, Richard,
What I'm
but
trying to
stay
make
on.
is this point. Young people today are excited about the future. We no longer have to spend the millions of dollars it takes to boost a spaceship into space. We piggyback aboard the 787, we rocket into space. Richard Branson is a genius. President Obama has stated he wants to place people on Mars. Let's look towards the future, particularly of bringing young black people into Mr. Bolden's NASA future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dickerson, followed by Mr. Jones.
First of all, I have some record for Councilmember Vizcaino. I'd like, maybe I can give it to Mr. Ferguson. Some things that went on prior to your arrival at the inauguration. Second thing, quick and dirty, I played football. This is for Councilman. Thank you. I played football with a guy named Castagnoli out there at Harbor College back when I was a young guy. He was tight end. Everybody didn't think he was the best for the position, but he did make a few big plays. There are numerous reasons why I know that I would make an excellent choice for city librarian, Councilman. The first deals with something I did as a volunteer that has given me back a true love of books. Moreover, a need to honor great published authors by attempting to promote the absorption of at least some of what has been deemed important enough to record. Councilmember Buscaino, as you may have noticed from the packet of documents that you accepted from me some weeks ago, I was a volunteer for a city library program called Grandparents and Books. I did it once a week in 1984 and came back and did it twice a week in 1994. Actually, a simple thing that I learned in getting back into reading is that I didn't have my reading legs. I couldn't read as one must read. And that's what needs to be focused on in terms of the city and the library system. Stimulating people to get their reading legs back. No one reads a word by assembling the letters. They read the entire word. An individual is not supposed to read a sentence by assembling all the words. They're supposed to read the entire sentence. But just like running a long distance, it takes a while to get in shape so that you can do that. And I think the city librarian's priority needs to be about that, as opposed to building libraries that we can't afford to use.
Thank you, Mr. Dickerson. Followed by Dan Jones, Henry Marine, and Brian. I'm going to give you a pass, but Mr. Barajas knows that this card should be submitted prior to the start of general public comment. Daniel Jones.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Daniel Jones. Good morning out to you, to the Court of Public Opinion. First, I'd like to give the recognition to the new city attorney for reducing the misdemeanors down to infractions on quality of life issues. I don't see how you ever got there in the first place, Herb. That's my question. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That's a start. This is to the Attorney General of the United States of America. You're not going to pursue minimum sentencing requirements. You're going to actually obtain them. I like to reserve the rest of my time for eternity because that's what it's going to take to start a little revolution. Wait, Benjamin Franklin said a little revolution is good for the country. Most people think it would be just a little war. You know, us against them and a little piece of property. The little revolution, sir, is a Freemason. Right here. Start a new idea. I've been out here, put my heart and soul, because that's all I have. You know what I'm going to get out of it if I don't take it personally and keep it by the book? More heart and soul. Sir, this is to the, well, police department. XYZ, cover all angles. It took me a year to figure that one out. I really didn't have a purpose in life until my parents gave me one. And I'm not here to change, remove, or have anybody lose anything. I'm here, well, because the United States Supreme Court said nobody has the right to remain silent anymore, not even you, after the fact of a crime. It's a good thing. The Supreme Court made a cardinal decision that if we can know enough to keep our mouth shut about crime, we know we should have never committed it. My father said anybody who's guilty pleads the fifth. Sir, I was never lied to by my parents.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Jones. Okay, Henry Marine, followed by Brian Barajas.
Yeah, this council once was blind, but now they see. In every MOU, there's shows the names of everybody who agreed to publicly borrow government funds in lieu of providing the prevailing with some due to the Hackland Coal employees for their benefit. Consequently, I do not get MAD when money is administratively deferred from my government paycheck. I get GLAD because government loans to administrators daily is the only basis for me to get government benefits. So, but the only problem we got now is the City Council and the Hackler Board has failed to notify the third parties that borrowed our money in the first place to account for this money and roll it back over to the primary trustees, which is Hackler and Lacers. They were listed as temporary trustees under our temporary MOU agreement that's gone on and on and on. So now you got a big balloon payment, or else you're going to have to refinance them with some that you've already borrowed. So I'm waiting for the letter. I'm turning 67 next Wednesday, and I don't want to come here on my birthday, but I guess I'm going to have to because y'all continue this senior abuse. Come on, Mr. Weston. First word in Weston is we, and the last word is on. So get this on the agenda and get it taken care of under Rule 16.
Thank you, Mr. Marine. Okay, Brian, come forward. Last general public comment speaker.
I'm going to turn in 3 documents. I believe the first one should be from Vladimir Putin, a plea for caution from Russia. The other, Obama earned that mustache, impeach him. Thermonuclear power, not nuclear war. Nuclear Nawapa 21, gateway to the fusion economy. Now, I think a lot of people have to understand what's happening in the political system around the world. I think everybody understands we need to change, as under FDR, when we return to Glass-Steagall, I think we have to change our conception of ourselves. What is the human species different from an animal, a beast? I remember great men and women who established that the future is much more important than clinging on to the present. And we do have a future to build, lest we go into thermonuclear extinction. Now, we could use fusion, we could use matter, antimatter. This technology existed under Kennedy, but ever since his death, everything just went straight down and down and down and down. Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy. So we're bringing this back, and I do mean the American people are bringing this back. Russia has put out a peace, and we should embrace it, unless we want to be animals of the past.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes general public comment. Mr. Clerk, what's left on this agenda?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Announcements, members? Mr. Labange?
This weekend, have a good weekend. Get out and go hiking and enjoy. It's not going to be as hot as it was, but there's a lot of great activities around, including tickets are still available at Earth, Wind, and Fire all weekend long at the Hollywood Bowl, the historic Hollywood Bowl, and we thank you.
Okay, Mr. Buscaino.
Annual Lobster Fest, colleagues, kicks off tonight at the LA waterfront, Portugal, and plenty of lobster for everyone, Maine lobster. And a number of our colleagues will join us this weekend to celebrate. And once you have your lobster, be sure to visit the USS Iowa, the historic downtown San Pedro, and also Crafted. So we welcome everyone. Please join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fuentes.
Just a reminder that El Grito is Sunday at 7. Again, thank my co-chairs for this event. And members, those of you who are interested or your staffs attending the reception beforehand, please be sure to let us know in CD7 and we'll be happy to accommodate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more announcements? Could we please rise for adjourning motions? Everyone in the council chambers, please rise. I'm looking to my left, Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, colleagues. Today I ask that we adjourn in memory of Alf Gaspar, who passed away on August 31st. He was 54 years old. He started life with a passion for cars, which increased as he aged. He was wise, kind, funny, sensitive, practical, and had an extraordinary ability to cut to the chase. He nurtured, cared for, encouraged, and loved most everyone who was lucky enough to share his life. He will be sorely missed by everyone whose life he touched. He is survived by his mother, Gina, sister, Char, his 3 nephews, numerous family members, and friends. May Al rest in the arms of the merciful and loving God, surrounded by light and laughter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Anyone else on this side? Okay, then I'll go to my right side. Mr. Labange?
I just wanted to join, as you would today, our brother Gil Cedilla's dad's funeral is right now in burial. So, Mr. Cedilla, what a great tribute Gil did the other day.
Yes, he did.
Just remember him today.
All right. Mr. Parks?
Yes, thank you very much. I'd like to ask that we adjourn in memory of a true LAPD legend, Robert Bob Koga, who retired from LAPD as a sergeant. He's a lifetime law enforcement trainer. He passed away at his home in Fallbrook, California on Sunday, September the 9th. He passed away after battling several years with lung cancer caused by exposure to asbestos. He was 83 years of age. From his early days in his career in LAPD, he established himself as a visionary in the area of arrest techniques, officer safety, law enforcement training. He redesigned the entire LAPD Academy training, and doing so developed a system of arrest and self-defense techniques which became known throughout the world as the Koga method. He was devoted over 50 years of his life to teaching law enforcement within the United States and internationally, and was personally teaching classes until he diagnosed in 2013. His impact on the law enforcement profession is immense. The family will be holding a private service. A public celebration for his life will be planned in early November in Southern California, and details will be announced. He's survived by a host of family and friends. Any expressions of condolences can be sent to the Koga Institute, 210 East Fig Street, Suite 103 in Fallbrook, California, 92028.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. I want to make sure before I call on Mr. O'Farrell, are there any other adjourning motions? Okay, we will now defer to you, Mitch O'Farrell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, it is with great sadness that I adjourn in memory of Alice Mae Bennett Armstrong. The youngest daughter of Rex and Lucy Bennett, Alice was born in Ulitic, Indiana on February 7th, 1931. She grew up surrounded by a big family and spent her childhood living in the clubhouse on the hill near a limestone quarry her father managed. While in high school, she met her future husband and partner, Jack Hamilton Armstrong, who shared with her a life that brought them both two wonderful twin daughters, Carrie Elizabeth and Carol Susan. Alice studied nursing at Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana. She read daily and maintained a firm grasp of global events, especially politics. With a book-filled home and an ear for classical old standards, she was always eager to learn and talk about the world and its cultures, or play a tune on request. She lived a full life that saw her touch almost every corner of the country, from the West Coast to the East Coast, and even a few stints in Europe. She spent the last year of her life in Bedford, Indiana, where she enjoyed daily visits with her family. Alice passed away on August 23rd at the age of 82. I ask that we adjourn in the memory of Alice Mae Bennett Armstrong and thank her for the wonderful daughters that she brought into this world, one of which this council has had the great honor and privilege of knowing and working with, and that is our river sister, Dr. Carol Armstrong. Alice was a mother, grandmother, wife, and friend. She will be missed.
Mr. O'Farrell, I believe Mr. Bloomingfield would like to add to that.
I didn't know Alice, but I know Carol very well, and you know, your memory of her will serve well. I know your father is listening as well. You know, your mother lives on through you. You've done such great work with the river and working with you, and I know the way you speak of your mother, and I just wanted to add my words as well as we adjourn in memory of your beloved mother.
Thank you, Mr. Bloomingfield. Mr. Labange?
And I'd like to third that after Mr. Bloomingfield. Carol, there's nobody like our mothers, and the joy that you bring to the city is a great reflection of what your mother taught you and your sisters, and the history and growing up in the heartland of America. We're lucky that your mother had such a wonderful daughter, and we're lucky that she lived a long life to 82.
Okay, with that said, members, we are adjourned.